It is May 2024, everybody, which means it's time to talk about May 1994. This would have been the end of my sophomore year of high school, and at this point, I was deep into death metal and things of the like, and trying to find music that pushed boundaries in whatever way possible, either heavier or weirder. I was just taking it all in, because I feel like something that's often overlooked about the early 90s is that you could almost expect to always be finding something interesting, and a band that does something cool will do something a little bit different that's also cool. We were fucking spoiled, because it was just like, hey, do you like this really cool music? You're about to discover this other cool thing that's different from this. And that kind of thing doesn't exist as much anymore. It really, really at all. That's probably a big reason why I do shows like this, because I love talking about this period of music, because it was a blessing and a curse, I guess, because I'm just happy that I was around to experience it. And a lot of the music still means something to me today, but also I miss that feeling that you could always trust artists and bands to do something interesting. There's still some of that today, just not enough. Speaking of interesting, let's talk about the number one albums in the country for May of 1994. For the first 2 weeks of May 1994, the number one album in America was Pink Floyd's The Division Bell. Honestly, I don't remember this album being that successful, but I mean, it's Pink Floyd, and even back in 1994, they were already a staple of album classic rock radio. So I guess it makes sense. But for the next 2 weeks of May, the number one album in the country was Tim McGraw's album, Not a Moment Too Soon. And this album was not too soon nor too late for me, because it did not even fucking exist in my world. Yeehaw. Honestly, both of those albums are so not 1994 to me, it's insane. All right, time for the number one movies in the country for May of 1994. So I don't really ever explain, but the number one movies, the way, in case you didn't know, the way that it's calculated, it has to do with being successful on a weekend, I believe. And so in this case, there's 5 weekends in May and 5 different number one movies. For the first weekend of May 1994, the number one movie in America was No Escape, which is a Ray Liotta action movie that I think I saw once when it came out on video, probably the year after this or something. And that's all I know. I mean, Ray Liotta's cool. And Continuing with that, vibe, the number one movie in the country for the second weekend of May 1994 is the movie With Honors, which I don't think I've ever seen. It's got Brendan Fraser in it, which is a plus. Joe Pesci is also in it. I think he's a homeless man. That's all I remember. The one thing that I do remember is the Madonna song that was on the soundtrack, which is called I'll Remember. Yes, Madonna, I will remember your song. The movie, not so much. The number one movie for the third weekend of May 1994 was The Crow. Now, there was a lot of hype around this movie, one, because of Brandon Lee's untimely passing during the filming of the movie, but also on my side of things because the soundtrack I thought was fucking awesome. And so the build up to the movie was big, and I went to go see it the first weekend, and I just remember leaving the theater being really bummed out that it wasn't that good. Now, it has since gained a huge cult following, and I don't think I've ever watched it again. So maybe I need to, maybe I'll feel differently about it 30 years down the line. I just remember the acting being really bad, and I couldn't get past that. There's a thing I have with movies and TV shows where if I'm reminded that you're an actor while I'm watching it, it just takes me out of it and I'm going to go do something else. For the fourth weekend of May 1994, the number one movie in America was Maverick. I did not see this one. This is a Mel Gibson movie, and I think it's a Western, and it was not on my radar at all. Still isn't the kind of thing that I'm going to rush to go check out, so I'll probably never see it. Which brings us to a movie that I never want to see again. For the fifth weekend of May 1994, the number one movie was The Flintstones, which I remember, I think we went to a matinee, so we paid less to go see this movie, and we seriously thought about leaving halfway through. Now, maybe we weren't the target audience. We're a bunch of fucking death metal kids. Why are we going to see the fucking Flintstones? But either way, it's not a movie that I was pleased with or enjoyed in the slightest. But moving away from the number one movies, the movie that I was excited to go see in the month of May 1994 that did not become a number one movie in the country was Beverly Hills Cop 3. Beverly Hills Cop 3 came out on May 25th of 1994. And I was and am a huge fan of not only Eddie Murphy, but the first two Beverly Hills Cop movies. So you bet your ass I was going to go see Beverly Hills Cop 3. Now, for this episode, because I remember being kind of disappointed in the movie and then watching it a couple more times when it came on to like HBO or whatever, and still just thinking it was not very good at all. I was like, you know what? For the people out there that watch my shit, I'm going to go watch Beverly Hills Cop 3 again just to give a fresh take on the movie, especially because in this year, 2024, we are getting a fourth Beverly Hills Cop movie, and I am fucking stoked. But as for my new review of the movie, Beverly Hills Cop 3, still not very good. It's weirdly, it's sluggish and not very funny. It's entertaining in parts, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what the problem was. And then close to the end of the movie, I figured it out. I'm like, there's the comedy aspect, but the action, all of the action scenes in Beverly Hills Cop 3 are so poorly done, and they don't feel exciting at all. And then I was like, oh, it's fucking John Landis directed this movie, a fucking comedy director. There needed to be an action director to make it work, to make it Beverly Hills Cop. So unfortunately, you're left with a movie that has some funny moments here and there, and I like seeing Eddie Murphy do Axel Foley, but at the end of the day, probably the best part of the movie is Bronson Pinchot.
Get the fuck out of here!
No, I cannot, because I am trying to tell you.
And he's in like 5 minutes of the entire movie. But, so I enjoy it because it's Beverly Hills Cop, but no, I feel exactly the same. It doesn't even come close to measuring anywhere in the vicinity or even the same universe as the first two Beverly Hills Cop movies. But, what are you going to do? Hopefully the fourth one it's not going to redeem that movie, but I just want it to be fairly good. I'll be happy if the new Beverly Hills Cop movie is fairly good, but I'll get back to you on that. But enough about movies. We need to move on to music, and I will be doing that right after this word from our sponsor.
Is talking on the phone getting out of hand? Look out! You need phone relief, the ultimate in hands-free phone design. Watch. Simply attach the special double back fastener to any phone. Then attach the phone relief headset. It's that easy. Hands-free, pain-free. You'll wonder how you ever lived without it. It's perfect for remotes. Now talk hands-free anywhere, anytime. Office work is a pain for Mr. Phone on the Neck, but you won't miss a beat with hands-free freedom. A must for the entire office. Work goes quicker and easier. The padded headset removes this easily and is fully adjustable. Best of all, phone relief works with your favorite phone. An amazing breakthrough product you'll use every day. Now only $12.95. Call toll-free to order by credit card and make this your last Phone on the Neck call.
Call 1-800-441-2400. Our operators are giving tremendous discounts on additional units. That's 1-800-441-2400. Or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Sorry, no CODs. Credit card users call now. 1-800-441-2400.
Please wait until after the episode ends to make your phone call to order your your phone device, because I know you're all scrambling to do so. Just give me like another 10 minutes. All right, the album releases of May of 1994. On the 10th of May 1994, the first album from Sunny Day Real Estate came out, Diary. Little did I know that this would end up becoming a really big beginning example of the genre that would become emo. It's still hard to think of this as an emo album for me, just because when I heard it, it was just kind of a unique rock album that I really enjoyed. But in hindsight, yeah, this is kind of where it all began. Now you're going to have all your armchair journalists that are going to sprinkle in all these different bands from the 80s, like, actually, it started here. And I'm like, yeah, there are elements of what would become emo in those other bands that, yes, I understand, you've read a book, congratulations. But as for a whole package, it begins right here. For better, for worse, I happen to like some emo, but I love Sunny Day Real Estate and this album right here. Also released on May 10th, 1994, an album that would also be embraced by the emo community. The very first album from Weezer. Now, I was actually looking forward to this band. They were already on my radar because they had a track on a compilation called DGC Rarities that had like Nirvana and Hole and some other bands, but it had an early like Weezer demo kind of thing. And so when this album came out, I bought it, and I probably would have anyway, because the strength of the first single, which was the Sweater song, I still think it's a fucking great song. Now, I am one of those people that thinks that the first two Weezer albums are really the only great albums they did. Not that all of their later and more recent stuff is complete garbage, but this album and the album after, it's really tough to beat. And there you go. May 10th, 1994. Those guys appeared in your lives. Hello, ladies. Moving on to May 24th, 1994. This is an album that I don't think I heard until maybe a year later, but the very first album from the pop-punk band Bracket came out. 924 Forestville Street is the name of the album, and this particular album, like, Bracket's a great band. Some really melodic, poppy punk music with all sorts of great vocal harmonies and melodies. Great songwriting. But really, if you were to come to me and say, hey, could you point me in the direction of the top 5 pop punk albums ever made, this one is in that 5 for sure. It is so fucking great if you're into that kind of shit. Look at us, we're covering emo, we're covering pop punk, where's the goddamn metal? Hold your horses. Also on May 24th, the one and only album from the band Orangutang, Dead Sailor Acid Blues. If you've been following my channel for a while, you may remember me doing a video on this album. It was a very short-lived series called It Should Have Been Huge, which I kind of just got exhausting doing the filming and editing of those. Also, to be fair, I kind of ran out of albums that I could point at you and be like, you're wrong if you think it shouldn't have been huge. Because there's a lot of really great albums, but there's only some that I'm like, this should have been a hit and it wasn't. But that's just me. I mean, I'm sure you guys can make your own videos, but this is one of those albums. I just think it is absolutely fantastic. And the fact that it's an album that everybody isn't still talking about all over the world is a fucking crime to me. So there you go. Dead Sailor Acid Blues. Maybe I'll put a link to that It Should Have Been Huge video in the description in case you want to go check it out. But yeah, they're like an alternative rock, heavier alternative rock. Well, they're kind of like hard to categorize alternative rock because some of it's heavy and some of it's melodic and some of it's softer, but it's all insanely well-written shit. You can go watch that video. All right, moving on to May 31st, 1994. Still no metal yet. I'm sorry, but an absolute fucking classic came out. I don't have this on vinyl yet, unfortunately, but I will one day. Ill Communication from the Beastie Boys. There was a big build-up to this album, too, because the first single was Sabotage, and we were all just like, holy fuck, because it's still a fucking banger. And honestly, I think this album overall is really fucking strong. I think it's a little bit of a step down from Check Your Head, but that's literally comparing one of the greatest albums ever made to an album that's really fucking good. How do you do that? The Beastie, come on, Beasties. You've given us too much to handle here. But I love and will always love the Beastie Boys, and this album is fucking awesome. And it came out on May 31st, 1994. And we're sticking here on May 31st, 1994, and we're going to get heavy. Are you ready for some metal? Fear, Emptiness, Despair from Napalm Death came out May 31st, 1994. This was actually the first Napalm Death album I ever bought. The first one I heard would have been Harmony Corruption. But this was the first one I went out and bought, and it still holds a very, very special place in my heart. A good chunk of it is slower and chunkier, I guess, than a lot of earlier Napalm Death stuff, but there's still plenty of blast beats and fast shit that it's easily grindcore that's on this album. They just did what good bands should do, which is try to branch out and do some other things. And what did they do? They made what I think is one of their fucking heaviest albums. And this would have been the beginning of my obsession with Barney Greenway. When it comes to extreme metal vocals, he is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that guy. But yeah, wrapping up May 1994 with some metal. There you go. You're welcome. So that is it for May 1994, but who wants to go back another 10 years? No? Oh, okay. Nothing to talk about for May of 1984. But that's going to happen, which is why I don't do a series of videos called 40 years ago next month. Maybe there'll be something to talk about next month for 1984, but literally I combed through everything. Nothing was exciting to me, but also I was 6, so what the fuck do I know? But as usual, I greatly appreciate all of you for being here for 30 years ago this month and being here for all of my shit. If you haven't already, go to oldheadnetwork.com, scroll all the way to the bottom and sign up for the shit list so you can get updates for important shit that I might be doing. And you can get links to things like Old Head Radio, which that is the funnest shit that I'm doing now, folks. Doing that, my own radio station, and having a radio show once a month, it is so much fun. It's what I've always really wanted to do. I like doing this, but I love being able to talk about and play music. That's over on Old Head Radio. You can go to the description of the video. There'll be a link to the website, Old Head Network, which has links to all of my shit. So go do it. Get out of here. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all again very soon.